Welcome to the Spiritualpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Christian, aka Love Pixel. And in each episode, we sit down with spiritual entrepreneurs sharing their knowledge, wisdom, and tools on their path to authentic success. Let's dive in. What is up, beautiful people? This is Christian from the Successful Spiritualpreneur Podcast. And today I'm very excited to have Tom Cronin on the show. And after 26 years as one of Australia's leading bond and swap brokers, Tom Cronin discovered meditation at his crisis point. And for him, it transformed everything. Now founder of the Stillness Project, multiple best-selling writing book author, a global movement inspiring, over 1 billion people today. Oh, let me record this. Sorry.
It's okay.
Now founder of the Stillness Project, a global movement inspiring 1 billion people to sit in stillness daily. He works with top companies like Amazon, Boston Consulting Group, and Harvard Business School are just one of among them. He's published 6 books and produced the documentary film The Portal. Thanks for being on the show, Tom.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me along. Looking forward to our chat today.
Yes, it's super exciting to see, the topic of spirituality and meditation also making it into, big corporate names like Amazon and BCG. So tell us maybe a little bit about that when you're in there, you as speaker, presenter, how do you present the topic? It's usually always like, ooh, yeah, you're going to be more productive, or, when you meditate, like how do you go about it? And then tell us a little bit about the inside of how corporation currently receive that topic.
I think like any teacher, if you're teaching quantum physics at university, or if you're teaching maths to, 8-year-olds in second class or third class, you always need to adapt your information flow dependent upon the level of your recipient, the level of the recipient's ability to receive that information. And this is in all of life. It's not just teaching meditation, it's actually all of life. Is that what tends to happen sometimes is that we deliver the information that we have to deliver, whether it's a friend, a family, or your client, rather than the information that they're able to hear. And that's what leads to very often overwhelm. And so what's really important, and one of the things that we're trained highly in, is knowing the capacity of our students or our clients' receptive capacity, their ability to receive that information. So a big part of what I have to do is adapt that for what they're interested in hearing and what they're able to hear. So of course, we're not talking about the 7 states of consciousness and the cosmic evolution of life over 10,000 years. What we're talking about is exactly like you said, are you sleeping well? If not, there's probably a high probability, you've got high levels of cortisol in your blood from being in the sympathetic nervous system. So we need to reduce the cortisol and adrenaline in your blood. Are you not using your brain functionally and efficiently? So that's probably a result of stress and being in the sympathetic nervous system. So all of it's around productivity, efficiency, peak performance, optimizing your work experience, achieving greater success. These are sorts of things that I have to deliver in those corporates. And the good thing is that I can talk to a very, someone that's been quite advanced in their spiritual exploration and talk at that level, or we can talk to someone that's in 5th class at high school, in primary school, and give them the information that they need as well. It covers all areas.
So what's I would say, maybe not a ranking, but if you look at companies, and you're a very intuitive person as well, when you walk into a certain company, or you've worked with some of these companies, how would you rank them? I think Amazon is a little bit more conscious than BCG, or these finance people really have it down with discipline. Or what are certain things that you've noticed working with different companies? Is there any one that stands out? It's that one, just forget about it. They haven't figured out, or, tell us a little bit about the inside.
Yeah, look, I think companies are a reflection of people, and no one's really got it figured out. I think we're all trying to work our way out. I've been doing this work for 30 years, spiritual work, and I'm still trying to work stuff out. So I think one thing I've learned is that no one has it all sorted. No company has it all sorted. It's an ongoing process of evolution, of working, evolving, learning, adapting. And I've not found one company that's wow, they're so switched on. I just find that there are degrees, obviously, of individual people within the organization that have certain levels of consciousness, but companies and staff and people are so diverse and so at different points in their journey. And of course, every now and then you run into someone that's done a lot of work, a lot of spiritual practices, and a lot of well-being sort of work, but they overall as a company, I've not found one that's really all in on that in every respect.
Cool. All right. Well, that sounds about right. Right. It's very hard to like give a blanket answer. Right. There's so many different individuals there. Um, You've also presented at A Fest, for example, which is kind of like like an event by a company put on by a company called Mind Valley. Um, what did you experience there? Like, how was your experience there?
Yeah, look, I love Dayfest. I spoke twice, once in Mexico, once in Bali, and I've been to four A-Fests altogether. And I'm not sure if they still hold them. I think they got Mind Valley University now, and maybe they still have A-Fest. I'm not sure, but it was an amazing experience of 500 conscious leaders coming together over 4 days. And it was an honor to speak at the Mexico and the Bali one in front of such inspiring people, and to be chosen to be up on stage there, and just the overall atmosphere of being around a group of people that are very dedicated to making the world a better place, very dedicated to their own personal growth as well, is always inspiring. There's a saying I like to use that when lampposts congregate, it's very bright, but ultimately lampposts' most useful purpose for them is to space them out along street corners in the dark night. So of course it's good when we hang out, but it's our best work is actually when we disperse from those types of experiences and go out into the world and do the things that we do.
Yeah, beautiful. You've also produced a documentary called The Portal, which the people can find at entertheportal.com. And I was wondering, what was your inspiration to make that documentary?
I was very inspired by The Secret, that brought a very esoteric subject matter to the world, the law of attraction, and made it very mainstream across households of the world. And it was really one of the first documentaries that brought this idea of personal development, spirituality to the screen and to film. Really, documentaries used to be about whales and dolphins and things like that. So it was really quite interesting that we'd seen one of the first documentaries in wellness and spirituality. So that inspired me to start exploring the idea of bringing a documentary about meditation. And so The Secret had such phenomenal success that we had the same intention. Didn't have the same financial success, but it was amazing to make a film that showcased the power of meditation against someone in crisis. So we had 6 individual stories that faced a crisis and how meditation would help them get through that crisis. And then we looked at humanity's potential crisis or impending crisis, and how potentially if we used meditation, we could prevent that type of crisis as well.
And how long was the entire process? And the reason I'm asking this is because, when people start, for example, these days making content, it's usually, social media, short form content, that type of stuff. And more people are also getting into YouTube, which is more longer form content. And of course, one area is also kind of like documenting whatever it is that you do or that you're passionate about. So how was that process for you? Because I am also in the process of making a documentary about tea, actually. It's going to be called One with Tea. And the core themes there are tea, spirituality, and entrepreneurship. So, and tea being kind of like the ultimate, or not the ultimate, the universal denominator in bringing people into alignment with themselves. And so, yeah, tell me about your process with the portal. Like, how, because it's just so much more than people can imagine to make a documentary. It's like, oh, come on, it's just 30 minutes of film, can't be that hard, or 40 minutes, whatever it is. So yeah, tell us about
Yeah,
that.
it was, to be honest with you, it was really brutally challenging. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And the reason being, firstly, that we set out to make a feature film. So it was feature length film to be screened in cinemas. So it was really up there. We wanted to make something like Inconvenient Truth, Super Size Me, one of those big films, What the Bleep. And the film, they were kind of sort of following in those footsteps. And the thing I would suggest if you're making a documentary, which we didn't do and I wish we had done, was to get very clear about the end point, which is how you're going to sell that film, how you're going to extract revenue or support yourself through that process. We had a large number of investors. It was a very expensive project, and yeah, it was a very difficult project because you start with the intention here, but making film is a long process and it takes time, but also involves a lot of people, and a lot of people need to all be on board and make that same creative intention and vision. They're all putting their own creative stamp on that, and so it's very hard to get exactly what you want with film. And most filmmakers will find this. It's you can have the best directors in the world, and the film just not quite get to where they wanted to get it to. And there's so many ingredients that need to come together with film. It's different from a book or a painting that's just you and the book or you and the painting. Whereas with film, there's like so many people, usually in a feature film that's 90 minutes long, having to put their creative intention into that. So it was very challenging. It was very expensive, and it was hard to get it to where we wanted to get it to, and to have the same level of success we had intended to, because the streaming platforms had come in and that changed things quite dramatically since then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see like whenever we create something, right? Especially for a documentary, like the team size is a little bit bigger than normal. It's not just two or three, it's usually, 5, 10, maybe even 12 people, maybe even more. So of course if you have 5 out of 12 who are great at the skill but don't share the vision, don't really get it, it's like that is when it goes downhill. So it's really hard to find, I mean, 10 people who are like spiritually aligned on your mission and also have the skill set to execute that. So I think that is the hardest kind of bringing those kind of people that in that recipe of people together.
Oh, how are you
So
going to
yeah.
distribute your film? What do you feel is the outlet? Where do you want it to be seen?
Also, we're gonna do probably like a 30-minute documentary. I'm not entirely sure on the length. Maybe we'll do two 30-minute parts, but our strategy is a little different. We're gonna just put it on YouTube and, have people get familiar with it that way. And then, okay, because when people spend time with you, they're just like, okay, I like this guy. I trust this guy. This is really cool. I can't believe he did that. But like, because I think anyone who made a documentary, there's a level of like, what's the word? Not selflessness, but like there's a level of just like a mission. Like I want to give something to the world that money cannot give. Like no money in the world can make the documentary I make because it's my soul, my heart, my mission, my message that I want to somehow manifest as a film, as a documentary, right? So there's this level of just a personal touch in every documentary that is so hard to replicate, in that when people watch it they're like, it's incredible, this person made that. And so yeah, our strategy is, putting it on YouTube. It's mainly about, tea, spirituality, and entrepreneurship, and the goal is for people to again be exposed to the material and be like, oh, that's really amazing, I didn't know making tea was that hard and that special and it requires that level of excellence. I want to try some of these tea that he has sourced or farmers that he's visited. Like ours is a little bit different because it's tied to a product, which is tea, right? Yeah, but I don't expect it to make big money or be a big hit. It's kind of like just one of these things where it's like, I want to share this message with the world. A documentary is a great pathway to do so. Sharing your heart with the world.
Beautiful. Sounds like a great mission. I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be cool. So, tell us a little bit, about your businesses that you've built throughout your career, especially building a spiritual business. So, you've built a successful business around teaching meditation and stillness. So, how do you balance that spiritual integrity also with the practical realities of running a profitable business? Like, how have you started? How is it now? How have you changed your mindset? Like, yeah, I really need to like let go of this or like focus more on that and still, share my message that way.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of conscious leaders, yoga teachers, meditation teachers, breath workers, helping them firstly overcome the block that a lot of us have, which I had as well, which is that it's okay to earn a living doing what you do and doing what you love. And there's a deep rooted ingrained conditioning that any spiritual practice should be done devotionally and without a financial exchange, which is actually not the case. Certainly in the Vedic tradition, there was always exchanges. Students would always bring gifts or something of value for the teacher in exchange for the value that they're getting. But somewhere along the line, because of Buddhism, I think, and Buddhist monks, who walked the streets, begging for food because they weren't allowed to earn any money. That started a sort of a construct in our society that anyone involved in teaching a spiritual practice shouldn't make money, which is just absolutely incorrect, because what we're doing is we're adding value. So a dentist adds value, a plumber adds value, a flight attendant adds value, a real estate agent adds value, and we're willing to make an exchange for the value that they bring to our lives by giving them some remuneration. And so firstly, helping people overcome these blocks around mindset, that we're adding more value than the guy from Coca-Cola. Yet the guy from Coca-Cola gets $15 million in stock options and shares and salary. So, we have to really start to, firstly, within our own selves, go, well, I'm bringing a lot of value to people's lives. I'm giving up a lot of my time, my expertise. I've spent a lot of money getting qualified in this skill set. So I need to firstly appreciate and respect and expect that I get some remuneration for the work and contribution that I'm making to the world. And then it comes down to your business, looking at what are you offering, what are the products, I call them, or the offers that people can make in exchange for. So I work with my clients to help them get clear on that. So for me, there's coaching programs, there's retreats, there's workshops, there's keynotes, there's corporate trainings, there's books, there's films. These are all ways that I add value to people's lives through the container that the knowledge is packaged into. So a book has knowledge packaged into it, a film has knowledge packaged into it, a workshop has knowledge packaged into it, a retreat has knowledge packaged into it. And so, respecting the importance of the exchange in that is what I teach and what I had to build in my own business.
Yeah. Yeah, I also, had to go through that healing with money and making peace and be feeling good with, like, yeah, why are you not worthy of receiving money for what you offer? So yeah, it's a common thing that I think a lot of us go through. And for yourself, if you look back right now and say, well, I think, like, if I knew this sooner, starting a spiritual business or being in the space that I'm at, like, what would you have done sooner? Like, in terms of, I don't know, could be a learning, could be a business tool or a tactic applied, either way. What would you have done sooner? I don't know why I held on to that so long, or.
I probably would have bought Bitcoin. It's not what you're expecting. Yeah, with my business, gosh, there's so many mistakes I've made. So many things that I wouldn't have done and so many things that I should have done. There was a big lesson I learned with the Portal film that cost us a lot of money, and it was a very difficult process to go through financially. And I'll leave that at that. But that was a big lesson. I think I would have mainly learned to get more structure to my business and focused on the things that I'm good at and the things that I love. I had a lot of business advisors and coaches and consultants telling me to do all these different things. And ultimately, what I learned and what really started to change the success of my business was when I just simply got down to doing what I love, doing what I'm good at, and focusing on that, which is teaching meditation, speaking on stages, and running retreats. Whereas a lot of the other stuff was, doing online courses and looking at EPCs and opt-ins and funnels, rather than just focusing on the things that I really enjoy doing. So that really changed things, and that's what I teach a lot of.
What do you define as a spiritualpreneur? Like, what does that mean to you? How do you define it?
I think, we have physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual reality. All four layers are the whole experience of the human reality. Unfortunately, at this point, because of where we're at in our cycle of evolution, a lot of people have yet to realize the fourth one. So so think of ice and water. So water, H2O, it can be the densest that its reality can be is ice. It's the hardest it can be, and that's our physical body. And then it can be water. So if you land on water from a height, it can actually break you or kill you. And so water is also dense, but not as dense as ice, and that's our emotional body. So the emotions move through the physical form. And then we've got from water, we've got vapor, or steam, I should say. We've got steam. So you can actually see steam. You can run your hand over the kettle and you can actually feel the water on your hand, and it's like clouds as well. So that's like the mind and thoughts. We have this sort of less dense layer of reality. That's our mental reality. And then we've got vapor, which you can't see at all. And we know vapor exists, but you can't see it, you can't touch it. And that's our spirituality. And I think when we talk about spiritual entrepreneurs, or what did you call them? Spiritpreneur or something? Um,
Spiritual. Mm-hmm.
yeah, spiritualpreneur. So I think it's people that, in my mind, have become aware of that least dense layer of reality. That's their spiritual reality. They're aware of this ethereal, celestial existence, and they encompass that into their reality of physical, mental, and emotional as well. So now we have the four-dimensional experience of being human, and they operate from that level. And in spiral dynamics and altitudes of development, I call this operating from coral, where you are now awake and you're working in a position of leadership.
Very cool. Yeah, I love that analogy. I think the from ice to the invisible is a very cool way of like making it tangible and yeah, conceptualizing in our minds like what these four different layers mean. I appreciate that. For me, a spiritual entrepreneur is always like I would say like it always comes down to me to like yin and yang in a way, like the divine feminine, divine masculine, right? How are you in balance with these elements in your life? Like, are you just, numbers driven and yang and pushing, or are you also able to receive and pull and relax and let go? Right? It's like it's this, and that principle applies in so many areas. So yeah, I like that PEMS, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. I like that layer as well. It's great. And from your perspective, for any entrepreneur that's listening who's juggling a business, serving clients, and trying to maintain their own practice, like how much how much time does someone really need to dedicate to experience lasting impact with meditation on a daily basis? Like, is there a number that you can recommend?
I recommend really dipping into that experience of the transcendent. Sorry about the birds in the background. I recommend 20 minutes, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. 5 minutes is a nice sort of reprieve from activity, but it's probably not long enough to drop into those deeper states of meditation. So what we really want to do is we want to transcend the world of duality, transcend the world of form and phenomenon. And not many meditations will get us into that state. I teach Vedic meditation, otherwise known as transcendental meditation. And I find that transcending, going beyond thought, feeling, and physicality is a really key component to what it is to be human, because that takes us into that spiritual existence beyond form, beyond duality. So to do that, we can do that within 20 minutes twice a day. And that is enough at this point in time. Probably sometimes with the world speeding up and the world getting more simulated, you might want to move that to 30 minutes. But we definitely need to have some time every single day to start to pull back from, we call it a retreat, to pull back from the activity, from mental stimulation, from form and phenomenon, and from subject-object relativities. That means that me, the subject, is being influenced and affected in some way, shape, or form by the object, the thing that I'm listening to, the thing that I'm engaging with, the thing that I've just won, or the thing that I've just bought. So freeing ourselves from that, trap is a really key component. And if we do that consistently, morning and evening, morning and evening, morning and evening, then over time we start to stabilize that reality of spirituality in our existence.
I love that. I think that's a great explanation. Where can people find one of your Vedic meditations? What's a good place? Where would you send them?
Yeah, so I teach them in person in Sydney or on Zoom, and so they can join in from anywhere around the world. I run them on a monthly basis, so it's a 4-session course where people get a mantra, their own personal resonance or vibration that's going to help them to go deeper in meditation. And so they can go to my website, tomcronin.com, and they'll find meditation in the top tab and be able to find all the upcoming dates and courses that are lying ahead.
I love it. So tell us a little bit about your books that you've written. What are the 6 titles of your books, and maybe a little breakdown of what each is about, or what book could be for what person that's listening?
We'll start with the youngest. So we've got Missy Moo Meditates, which is about Missy Moo and her sister Boo, and she's teaching her sister how to meditate, and that's for 5 to 8-year-olds. Really beautiful little children's book, and it's got a guided meditation at the back of the book. And then we've got a book called Path to Peace, which is all about the mechanics of change and how we at any point in time have a destructive operator, a maintenance operator, or a creative operator operating in our life, being the main influence in our life. This is also called Vishnu, Shiva, and and Brahma. And so that book is all about how to navigate through the complexities of life. We've got Spirit and Soul, which is all about the seven states of consciousness, a little bit more of an advanced book for a lot of my meditation students. And then we've got the Portal book, which is an extract from the film. And it's a beautiful, deeper dive than the film, where we explore those personal stories and a lot of the insights from myself and Jackie, the director, in that book. And that comes with the film. And then there's a book called Insights, which is a collection of insights that I've, I guess, intuited through my meditations that I put into a book that people can read as well. And then there's a couple of little books, one called Faster Deeper Calm and one Faster Deeper Sleep, which is helping people reduce anxiety or reduce insomnia. And it's just really a simple guidebook on how to have more calm in your life or have better sleep in your life.
Love it. And apart from your own books, what's one book that has changed your life?
Gosh, there's so many. I think Eckhart Tolle's books have always been really impacting, in New Earth and The Power of Now. And a lot of Deepak Chopra's books are very impacting. And Neil Donald Walsh's book, Conversations with God, was really impacting. So they're kind of like, I couldn't really drill it down to just one, but there's a few there that people can choose that all played a really big role in my life.
Very cool. And what would you say is one of the best pieces of advice you've ever received about building a purpose-driven or spiritual business?
I think it's less about the advice that I received. It's more an intuition that I received. A lot of people advised me on a lot of things, and a lot of it didn't really have any positive effects. A lot of people said, niche down, do one thing well. And what I learned through my own personal experience and journey was that to have a diverse business model and being in the space of personal and spiritual development, giving the customer, the client, the opportunity to journey with you through multiple avenues, through retreats and workshops and coaching programs. So a lot of what I learned and intuited was to have a multi-tiered business model rather than a one-dimensional business model. So if you're teaching yoga, then what does it look like if you're to be a speaker? What does it look like you to be a coach as well? What does it look like you to do corporate trainings, to run retreats, and getting more diversity in your business model? That's something that I learned basically the hard way through my own intuition and my own business development.
Beautiful. Yeah, thanks for learning that for us. And I had, I had one more question since, we're nearing the end of the episode. And, towards the end of the episode, I always like to give it over to the guest to kind of like paint a picture for us of what their vision of the new earth looks like. So whatever that means for you, but how does your vision for the new earth look like?
Yeah, it's such a simple model, and there's one thing that I see in the future is simplicity. We have so much complexity because we're defined by our differences. Yet when we transcend those differences, we start to realize that there's actually a unified field that we're all part of and we're all interconnected. And that's just not humans, but it's also the bees, the fungi, the whales, and the dolphins. So I see a great deal of simplicity. I see a world where there's very little, if any, conflict. And very little competition, where there's a lot of collaboration, co-creation, a lot of communion, a lot of communication, and a lot of acceptance, a lot of harmony, and a lot of compassion, a lot of kindness. Businesses aren't built for extraction. Businesses are built for contribution. And it's not that complex. We have the capacity to create this. And I'm seeing glimpses of communities being built and established around the world that are starting to have these, I guess, core tenets integrated into them. Of course, they're not going to be perfect. That's the whole nature of the relative field. It can't be perfect. The only perfection is the divine or source or God. And that it manifests itself into imperfection. So we'll never get to perfection. But I think we can definitely be better. And we've got to start breaking free of these shackles of perceived differences, perceived competition and perceived conflict. And start to let love prevail, let kindness prevail, let compassion prevail, let understanding prevail a lot more.
Beautiful. I love that. And what are any last words you'd like to share with the audience and on the listeners here? And then last question would be where people can find you.
look, we're going through difficult times. We're going through a lot of conflict in the world, and personal and global, national, political, even with sports teams and people's ideologies, people's belief systems. People are conflicted about these things more than we've ever seen. It's very hard for people to hear a point of view that someone doesn't like. And then, of course, we have to try and do whatever we can to persuade them to like us in a different way, or see things in a different way. So, what I would like to leave with people is that crisis, pain, suffering, it's not something that we're a victim to. It's something that we have an opportunity through. We have an opportunity through that to learn, to discover more about ourselves. If we can just pause for a while rather than pointing fingers and trying to eradicate the thing that's causing us discomfort, but to learn what is it we can learn from this? What is the insight that we can gain from this? How is this helping us to evolve and to realize more about our fundamental truth? And if we can start to see crisis in that way, or pain and suffering in that way, then we have the capacity to move through that a lot more effortlessly and without as much misery and suffering.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And where can people find more about you? Where would you guide them, lead them?
I think the best place is Instagram. I like finding Instagram. I find it's very easy to communicate with people. So if they can send me a message to Instagram and follow me there, that'd be great. Otherwise, they can go to my website. So Instagram is Tom Cronin, or one word, TomCronin. And then my website is the same, tomcronin.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom, all your heart, and that you are bringing to the show. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks for creating the space and holding space for us and providing this for everyone. Thanks for listening in, everyone. It's been great sharing space with you all.
Oh, thanks.